Let's get the latest on the track of the storm and what is still coming our way. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg and meteorologist Amy Freeze tracking it all. But Lee, first up, where is Henri right now?
So landfall is actually imminent. This could make landfall any moment on Block Island. If it is to miss Block Island, I mean, it's not missing in terms of impact, but if just technically the eye wall goes over Block Island, technically we could have a landfall early this afternoon over parts of the southern New England coast. I mean, we're talking semantics here, but it's hammering Block Island and it's just east of Montauk. So we're tracking Tropical Storm Henri. We're in the height of the wind and the surge part of the storm as we go through the middle of the day, and then the rain part of the storm is going to continue into tonight. You can see the circulation right here. So here's Montauk, and the center is actually only 15 miles to the east, and it's going very close to Block Island. And you can see how a portion of the eye wall, at least the heavy rains, have been getting over the east end, but it's been so critical with this eastward adjustment of the path that we stay away from the strongest winds. So yes, some gusts have been close to 50 miles an hour, but we're seeing gusts to 65 on Block Island. In Point Judith and Rhode Island, we're seeing gusts close to 70 miles an hour. We're not getting those gusts, thankfully, in the tri-state area, but we are getting copious amounts of rainfall. If it were to technically miss Block Island with a direct hit with the center going over that, which defines a landfall, you know, it could go in westerly, it could go as far west as Groton or Old Mystic, so we'll watch that for the potential landfall. But look what's happening with this storm. We had that wind and surge part for the North Shore, but what has been the major problem since last night is this tropical connection with a system off to the west that's been moving into the northeast, and these extended bands which are training over areas, going over the same areas multiple times with just heavy rainfall totals and heavy rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches an hour. So the inland flooding has been huge. There's Tropical Storm Henri's stats, 60 mile per hour. So that's the best case in terms of we got a weakening storm and a storm that went a little farther east. So that was great for wind and surge, but not for rainfall. And there's the stat at 15 miles east of Montauk. Look at this new track. This just came out at 11 o'clock. And look at this northwest movement going right over Hartford, Connecticut, the Berkshires this evening, and then hooking through central New England. So on that path with a weakening storm, it's no longer a windstorm. This is all going to be about a tropical rainstorm that's going to focus basically, I would say, from I-78 north and east. So you got Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, New York City, northern New Jersey, all in a bullseye here for heavy rainfall that'll be prolonged in the evening hours before we can get into tomorrow morning and it winds down. So here's what we're talking about. Landfall this afternoon on Block Island, or maybe in an hour or two in the southern New England coast. It is still capable of producing strong winds on the east end and certainly some surge as we enter the high tide time on the north shore of the island. Inland flooding, this is the major concern. 6 inches, 9 inches, the numbers are incredible. And meteorologist Amy Freeze is in the newsroom in our weather center, and just looking at Henri by the numbers, it's head spinning.
Yeah, Lee, when you make those points of the difference between the path of the storm and then what can potentially be happening in and around the storm, the message is already very clear, because what happened last night into early this morning was a considerable amount of flooding. In fact, enough to actually go down in the history books. Almost 4.5 inches for Central Park. That's a daily record rainfall. Between 10 and 11 last night, almost 2 inches of rainfall reported. That's an hourly record. And we had more than 8 inches for central New Jersey. So just an incredible amount of moisture. And that is before the storm lined up right there to Montauk. So the position of the eye compared to what the characteristics of the storm can create as far as impacts with rain and wind can be very, very significant. Look at these numbers. AccuWeather team's been crunching them here. We've got Cranberry over 8 inches, Jamesburg almost 8 inches, Windsor over 5 inches. Just incredible, though, to look at those numbers coming out of central New Jersey from last night. We have Long Beach Island at 6.5 inches, also Surf City. Some of these are combined from last night into what we're seeing today. These numbers are going to continue to grow. So getting to that mark of 4 to 8 inches that we've been forecasting looks very likely. We're on the left side of the storm, so that's why we've seen all this rain. And as it continues to make that path that Lee's talking about, we remain in the zone for very heavy rainfall, whereas that track change made a less impact with the winds. Here are the top speeds we've seen so far. Bating Hollow, 50-mile-an-hour winds. The South Fork, almost a 50-mile-an-hour wind. Great Gull Island, almost 50. Orient Point's at 46 miles an hour. We'll watch these wind numbers for you as well. Meteorologist Brittany Bell's here in the house. Lee, we're watching all this come together pretty closely. it will be very interesting to see how far that rain comes back south. You mentioned coming down to 78, but that means that parts of the Hudson Valley, all those northern counties are going to be affected by rain right through the afternoon.
Right. No, you're exactly right, Amy. And you're talking about an area now across central New Jersey just coming out of flood warning. So that's good to see that it's more advisories as the water recedes across parts of Somerset, Middlesex, and northern Monmouth County after getting the incredible amounts of rain. Wave heights, 16-foot waves near the core of Henri, and then you can see there's still some 11-footers in the South Shore of Long Island, but these are big heights for the sound as the water certainly has been pushed in here. So as we go into this high tide cycle here around noontime, we're going to be watching Flushing Bay and Oyster Bay and near Huntington, and we're going to be watching all these places to see if that 3 to 4 foot surge is realized in this splash over or even some moderate inundation. Amy was showing those winds there going forward, and you can see that while there will be a pushback of some gusty winds with some of the heavier rain bands, if we're talking about tropical storm conditions, you're really talking about eastern Long Island and southeastern Connecticut, and then those winds will start to subside as the storm continues to weaken as it moves inland. Again, that futurecast, this is what we're so concerned about. See how north of I-78, you've got widespread heavy rainfall across Connecticut, Long Island, New York City, northern New Jersey, and the Hudson Valley, and it just continues north and west into the evening hours before finally pulling out as we go into Monday morning. It's still going to be a scattered shower storm in the afternoon hours. So you see the potential for still several more inches of rain, and that could be right around parts of northeast New Jersey where we always see some of the big time flooding there. Our, of course, big recommendation here is do not travel. Just stay in the safety of your home right now. Again, you do not want to drive through standing water. If you have to go out and it's absolutely emergency travel, do not drive through standing water. Car can be swept away with a small amount of rainfall. You want to stay on higher ground, stay inside in a place of safety. We are going to have much more, of course, on Henri. There's still a long way to go with this, even though we're not talking about that classic tropical storm, hurricane windstorm. We're talking about a lot of water with this storm. I'll see you again in just a few minutes. Mike and Tony, back to you for now.
All right. Thank you. Really good advice, Lee. Thank you, Amy, also. We're going to